Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 7 of Giro d'Italia. Now, today's stage, 197 kilometers. They're going to go over 4 mountain passes, but realistically, they're going to be climbing all day long. Even after the last climb summits here on stage 7, it's still 25 kilometers to go. They're going to have a solid descent, and then they're going to have a nice bump before they get into the finish of today's stage. And then the last 400 meters is going to be a solid percentage climbing all the way up to the line. Now, they scared me a little bit at the finish of today's stage, and they were talking about it being 13, 15% or something. But at the end of today's stage, it looked like they were going a little too fast to have it that steep to the finish. I'd call it probably more of about 6%, 5, we'll go 6, maybe 7, somewhere between there. It was a hard finish anyways to the line. Now, when the cameras come on, the first thing that's talked about from the commentators is Michael Morkov, the lead-out man extraordinaire for Mark Cavendish, Quick Step team. He's out of today's race with fever last night. Now, come on, guys. Fever last night for Michael Morkov. He's heading to the Tour de France. We just got done with all the flat stages here. We're running into 3 hard mountain stages, then a rest day, then another mountain stage before you get to stage 11 where Michael Morkov's skills would really come into play. It can't be a fever, or it is very big coincidence that it is. That boy is going home. He's going to rest up, and he's going to be fabulous at the Tour de France for Fabio Jakobsen leading out his main #1 sprinter in Quick Step. And then possibly if Cavendish can do something amazing, I think he deserves a spot to go to the Tour de France. But here's the next problem. Last night before I went to bed, there was news on the cycling web pages that Cavendish is looking for a new team possibly for next year. So when you start putting all this stuff together, you see Michael Morkov leaving early. Cavs left here without his #1 lead-out man, the biggest, baddest lead-out man on the planet, Michael Morkov, going home. Then you see contracts are in negotiation for next year, looking for different teams. Ooh, Cavendish is going to have to do something special. I think he deserves to go. I think they should make the spot for him at the Tour de France and give him a shot at breaking the record. I'd love to see him go. But when you start putting all the notes together, all the little cookie crumb trail there, you got to believe it's going to be difficult for Mark Cavendish to make it to the Tour de France unless he can pull out some amazing victories here at Giro d'Italia before we get into the Tour de France. Because, let me remind you, the other big cookie crumble trail there is Fabio Jakobsen's already been winning in Hungary. So you know he's on fabulous form, and he's the #1 sprinter right after Caleb Ewan. So, when we get into the racing, with today's stage, when you know all the other stages have been so calm and relaxed, they've been fabulous stages. I love the finish, especially yesterday's, but it was calm and easy yesterday. It was a rest day before that, and so you know it's going to be a big explosion here on stage 7, because only the Mount Etna climb on stage 4 has been the only thing to really add some big depth and difficulties into all the GC guys' legs. So today's is going to blow up, you know it, 100%. Now when the racing starts, it's Lotto Soudal, Thomas de Gent that goes up the road, and de Gent is going solo. Now this is his MO, this is what he loves to do. We haven't seen him really performing at his best like he did in 2019. He's had a couple dry years when you compare what he's done. Everything previous 2020 up till now, it's been a little bit dry, but he's up there. He's putting some hope in the hearts here of us fans of Thomas de Gent that he might pull something out amazing, but it's not going to be, because as soon as we get past 10 kilometers to go here on today's stage, that's when the attacking's going to start, and we're going to see it coming from all over. First rider to go up to putting real damage here in the peloton is going to be Davide Formula UAE Team Emirates. Now, Formula, when we're talking about him, I don't like this. When I'm sitting on the couch and I'm watching Davide Formula throwing in a big attack, all I'm thinking about is Almeida. What is Almeida going to do if he gets into trouble at these later mountains on today's stage 7, but especially in the later mountain stages that are going to come for the difficult stage tomorrow and then the blockhouse climb on Sunday? I don't like seeing Davide Formula going up the road, but he is firing bullets all over the place. It wasn't just 1 attack or 2 attacks. He's doing 3, 4, 5 attacks up this climb. And then Matthew van der Poel, we saw him at the back of yesterday's stage coming into the finish of stage 6. Now we see him at the front of stage 7 trying to get into today's breakaway. He's not going to be successful, though. When we finally hit the first climb, it's going to be a difficult climb. And when we get to the summit, it's going to be Wout Poels and Davide Formulo that's up the road. Now, the fog has started to set coming in on Wout Poels as he was going solo up to the summit climb here. But it didn't go foggy on the other side. I thought at this moment when the fog came in, there was going to be some carnage in the peloton behind if they were all bombing down the descent like you know they would be with all the riders trying to get in the break. Now, when we come down the backside of the first categorized climb here on stage 7, it's going to be a big group of 11 up there with Davide Formulo and Wout Poels in that group. And then behind, who is it? It's Team Ineos. Richard Carapaz, the #1 favorite to win the Giro d'Italia here. He's up the road and dropping all the favorites behind. Trek Segafredo's trying to do some damage control, and this is the first time that I'll see Bike Exchange doing any work throughout today's start of the Giro d'Italia. Now, they might have covered some attacks, but I didn't see it, and there was attacks coming so many different directions that it's possible I missed it. But everything that I've witnessed up to this moment, Bike Exchange has just been absolutely fabulous, saving all their bullets for later stages here at the Giro d'Italia, like Simon Yates and Bike Exchange's Director Diaz, Matthew White loved to do early in Grand Tours. Now, that group will finally get all brought back together, and then it's going to be Bora Hansgrohe's Leonard Kamna thrown in attack. Now, he's second on the general classification, and he's followed directly by Juan Lopez, first pink jersey wearer here on the classification for the Giro. Now, those two are following each other as Lopez is canceling out every attack that Leonard Kamna, Bora Hansgrohe is putting in. Those attacks will all get brought back, and then we'll start seeing the next big explosions here in the peloton as attack after attack is sending massive sized groups of the peloton going out the back of the field. Now, up front is Davide Formulo throwing in a massive attack. He's got one rider along for company. It's Arcas from Movistar. The Movistar rider doesn't have good form. He's going to drop off as he can't hold the wheel of Davide Formulo. Let me remind you guys, Davide Formulo has already shot off a ton of bullets early here in this stage 7 Giro. Now he keeps going solo until it's the Cofidis rider Davide Villela that bridges up to Formulo. Now Davide Villela is not doing big pulls with Formulo up front, and you can see he's getting a little grumpy with the Cofidis rider. But there's some reinforcements coming, Formulo, so hold on tight, because behind it's Jumbo-Visma's Koen Bouwman that's coming across, and he's got Wout Poels on his wheel. Now, Wout Poels has been aggressive already throughout this stage, and the Bahrain Victorious is trying to get back up to the front of the race. Behind, there's two more riders coming across. It's Tom Dumoulin is coming across, and he's got EF Education's Camargo attached onto his wheel. Now, Tom Dumoulin's looking fabulous on the pedals. I mean, he is doing massive accelerations on the pedal. We see the EF Education. Camargo, he's holding on for dear life back there trying to stay on the wheel of Tom Dumoulin. Now, that's not it. There's still one more rider to come across, because this could be Bach Mollema, Trek Segafredo, who's teammate with race leader Juan Lopez. He's coming across because he sees the damage with Tom Dumoulin going up the road. He bridges up quickly to Tom Dumoulin and Camargo from EF Education, and the three riders will bridge up to the 4 shortly after that to make a 7-man group. Now, with those riders in front, there's 2 riders that are slightly dangerous on the general classification. Not extremely dangerous, but Koen Bouwman is 5.5 minutes back on the general classification, and Bach Mollema is 5:49, I believe about 20 seconds behind Koen Bouwman. Now, here is the dilemma. What happens in the back of the field? Because they're all going to sit up, and that time gap up to the 3 leaders is going to start to balloon. It'll go up to as much as about 5.5 minutes on today's stage, and when it reaches 6, that's when we're going to start seeing the big chase. But up to that point in time, it's Trek Segafredo back there setting the pace. Now, again, I don't like Davide Formulo being up in that front move for UAE team members. I think he's too important for Almeida back there trying to win general classification here at Giro d'Italia. But okay, they're going to do it, and Formulo is going to burn some matches on today's stage 7. Now, Trek Segafredo, when we're talking Bach Mollema, I don't like Bach Mollema up there either. I don't know what he's doing. When I look at Trek Segafredo team, okay, they look all right. They look somewhat kind of strong. They're holding the pink jersey, of course, with Juan Lopez. But how many ways can you spread a team out? How many ways can you spread a team that's not the super most dominant team in the European peloton? Remember, now they got Bach Mollema going up the road. They got Giulio Ciccone back there racing for general classification. And they got the pink jersey with Juan Lopez. So how many ways can you dice up a team? I've already seen Juan Lopez covering attacks from Leonard Kamna earlier in today's stage 7. And I've seen Trek Segafredo under the knife and not having that many riders at the front of the group. So now when I see Bach Mollema in the front, I go, okay, I understand. Bach Mollema wins stages. He's a big-time player here in the European peloton, and he can win today's stage. But you have the pink jersey already. When you try to go for everything in the big pie, sometimes you lose it all. So Trek Segafredo's back there chasing. They're holding that gap at about 5 minutes, 15 seconds. And that group of 7 going up the road, they'll start having their own problems because Tom Dumoulin will have a bike issue. We'll see him have to change bikes and then change back to his race bike. After that, it's Wout Poels. Wout Poels, who was just firing bullets all over the place early in today's stage, is the first to come out the back of the group, and the Bahrain Victorious riders' legs are just blowing up. Wout Poels, I don't understand why you haven't been able to figure this out. I've seen you many times throughout the last 3 seasons be super aggressive at these races early and then blow up before you're even close to the finish of these stages. He can clearly climb. He is so thin, though. You got to start asking yourself, are you eating enough calories? What is happening that you could be so dominant on these climbs early in these stages, and then by the middle or slightly past the middle of the stages, just blowing up and the legs are falling off? At some point in time when you're a professional cyclist, and not a young professional cyclist, Wout Poels is in his 30s. He's won big races. He won Liège-Bastogne-Liège back in the day when he rode for Team Sky, and now here he is with his legs falling off again. With him dropping off, that'll leave 6 guys up in the front group. Now, Davide Villela, he has some problems because he'll crash himself off to the right of the road. Not do any big damage, but he's got to get some bike repairs back there. When he finally gets back on the bike, he has some shifting problems. He's angry, he's upset, he's off the back. Somehow Davide Villela finds his way back up to the group of 5 to make it 6 again. Now the penultimate climb, we see Davide Villela. He's coming off the back again for Cofidis, and he is going to struggle. But amazingly enough, on the descent, he finds his way back up to the group of 5. EF Education's Camargo, he's been having some problems. Look like he's been suffering many times, but he's still up in the group of 5. Now that just became 6 with the Cofidis rider attaching back on. When they start the last climb here at stage 7, it's going to be Tom Dumoulin throwing in the big attack. He throws in 1 acceleration followed by a 2nd, but the problem is the gut riders he's sending out are not the riders he needs to care about, because first to go out the back is Camargo, the EF Education, then followed by Davide Villela from Cofidis. He comes out. Now when he throws in the big attacks, Tom Dumoulin is sending out the back Koen Bouwman, his teammate. Up front, you see Davide Formulo still there. Bach Mollema's looking like a champ, and he'll throw in the next attack. That attack will get brought back from Tom Dumoulin. And then is Davide Formula going solo with a big attack here on the last climb that'll summit with 25 kilometers to go. Bouwman is still back there struggling to try to get back up to the 3 leaders in front. Now, when we look at Tom Dumoulin and Bach Mollema, they're looking at each other, and Mollema at a point in time, he's just shaking his head like, I can't do it, man. Tom Dumoulin's doing the bulk of the work to bring back Davide Formula up the road. And to my disbelief, Koen Bouwman, the Jumbo-Visma rider, he finds a way to get back up to the front leaders up there just in time to steal more KOM points on the last climb of today's stage 7. Now, he stole the previous climbs and the climb before that for the KOM points. So at the end of today's stage, he's not coming home empty-handed, because he'll put on the KOM jersey at the end of stage 7. Now when they start the descent, they have about a 3.5 minute gap on the Ineos train that started chasing when the gap got over 6 minutes behind. Ineos, when they started chasing, they had 7 guys back there, looked solid. Bike Exchange at one point in time locked onto their wheel. Again, Bike Exchange not expending any kind of extra bullets here on stage 7. Ineos will go over the top of the last KOM about 3 minutes behind the 4 leaders up front as they work pretty well together down the descent. Once they get into the flat section here, the very, very limited flat parts of road here at the Giro d'Italia stage 7, it's going to be Tom Dumoulin taking over the front. There's a little bit of a bump left here on stage 7, and Tom Dumoulin is riding the front, and then we're going to see Bach Mollema throw in a couple of attacks. Those attacks get brought back each time from Koen Bouwman, the Jumbo-Visma rider, who, let me remind you, got dropped on the last climb here at stage 7 just moments before here. Now he's fighting hard to stay with all the attacks as Tom Dumoulin is getting distance and then coming back on with the tactical games being played up front. Just before they crest the final little bump here on stage 7, it's going to be Davide Formula throwing in a big attack. Koen Bouwman again covers the attack, and then behind, Bach Mollema just gapped a little bit. Will bridge back on the final descent here as the 3 riders up front are playing some games, because let me remind you, Koen Bouwman is Jumbo-Visma, and it's his teammate behind, Tom Dumoulin, that is struggling to get back on. He will get back on. He'll go straight to the front. Just before they go under the Flamme Rouge, Tom Dumoulin, who is first position, the gap will open up as Davide Formula will slot into the second spot here out of the group of 4. Tom Dumoulin will lead with 1 kilometer to go. With 800, he's still on the front. With 600, he's on the front. 400, Tom Dumoulin is still on the front. At 300, we got a right turn coming up, and that's when this climb really starts to pitch and get hard. Now, 250, 275 meters to go. Koen Bouwman throws in the big attack. At this point in time, he gets a gap right away on Davide Formula and Bach Mollema. Mollema comes around Formula, starts bridging the gap with about 150 meters to go. At 75 meters to go, Koen Bouwman, who looks behind him, sees he's still got the gap, and the legs fall off of the Trek Segafredo rider Bach Mollema as Koen Bouwman takes a really fantastic, well-earned victory here at stage 7 Giro d'Italia for Jumbo-Visma. They'll finish first on the stage, 4th on the stage with Tom Dumoulin back there, who did the bulk of the work to make sure that there was a sprint finish for Koen Bouwman to be able to win today's stage. 2nd on the stage will go to Trek Segafredo's Bach Mollema, and 3rd will go to Davide Formula. Now, the Cofidis rider Villela, he salvaged out of placing here on stage 7 to get 5th. The peloton will come into the line about 3 minutes behind the 5 leaders in front. No changes in the top 10 general classification after today's stage 7. But let me tell you guys, this was an amazing stage. I watched it from start to finish, and the action was thick and intense. So if you got 6 hours free, go ahead and click on stage 7 and enjoy watching, because there's not a dull moment throughout today's stage, and more attacks than I could have possibly listed here today on the Butterfly Effect. Tomorrow's stage should be interesting. I'm looking forward to a Matthew van der Poel being able to get off on the circuit finish tomorrow on stage 8 of the Giro d'Italia. Should be a big showdown amongst the GC favorites on tomorrow's stage. And if it doesn't happen tomorrow, you know it's going to happen on Sunday, with Blockhouse coming with the finishing summit on Sunday's stage. Exciting racing still to come. It's just started here on today's stage 7, and it will continue for the next couple days. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next edition at tomorrow morning on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.